What's the Hold Up Pod? It is your host, Dan. Really excited this week to introduce friend to all of us on Blue Sky, Ethan Lavery. Great supporter of a lot of different wonderful things that we enjoy. And he came on with his suggestion to talk about 1989's UHF, the Weird Al Yankovic vehicle. We spent some time talking about Weird Al and his music and what it means to us, how this movie is actually a little bit of a social touchstone and identifier for people who might be kind of tribe with you, and just also why maybe parody movies might need to come back again. But it was a great conversation. He was a wonderful guest. We have a great time. So here we are talking about UHF. What's the Hold Up Podcast? It is your host, Dan. We're here to talk about another classic movie, and I have another guest, somebody who we all know from Blue Sky. It is Ethan Lavery, one of Georgia Tech's. That's your wife.
Geez.
Sorry.
That's my wife, yeah.
That is your wife. One of Virginia Tech's finest. But so happy to have him here because this was a suggestion that you made, and I'm really excited to talk about it. We're going to talk about 1989's UHF, starring Weird Al Yankovic. And I'll kind of kick it over to you because you suggested it. And I want to let you kick it off a little bit and talk about, what sprung this for you, why you want to talk about this movie. And I was glad to watch it again. So thank you for that.
Yeah, so thanks for having me on your show, first of all. Yeah, we have the House Divided flag out and everything. And yeah, kind of missed the Tecmo Bowl being a yearly thing. But when you first announced your podcast and thinking about in terms of nostalgia and looking back on things that used to be I think the example that you gave was Goonies, of looking back and thinking about movies that you remember through those rose-tinted glasses and you really loved, and now you rewatch it and it's like, this is not nearly as good as I remember it. And so I think I've reached out initially and I said, hey, maybe Transformers, the cartoon, not all that great. And then you had that one episode that I think it was a solo episode where you said, no, that's not really, you're kind of developing what this is going to be about. And it's really about what does this movie say about the current moment compared to how you felt about it back then. And so I thought, man, I had just gone to the Weird Al show that was up near me, saw him on tour, brought my two boys with me and my wife. She came reluctantly, but she had a good time. And thought, man, UHF is one of my favorite movies. And it came out long enough ago that it's like I could be thinking about it in terms of nostalgia. But I mean, I probably watch it once a year and it still hits. Like, it's still a really funny movie. It doesn't there's some things that seem dated, but it doesn't seem all that dated, really. It seems like a lot of the themes about it seem pertinent and stuff. And then, I think we can get into it a little bit later, but just the idea of the monoculture is just gone now.
Yeah.
The idea of I saw, kind of when I was thinking about this, I saw an interview with Weird Al where he was asked, why don't you make much in terms of parody songs anymore? And he said, well, it's really tough. There's not MTV that tells everyone, listen to this. It's great that people find their niche music that they love, but it makes it really hard to find something that's universal.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like when you think about, if you ever go and look at how many people watched the last episode of MASH, right? And it was something like 40 or 50. Oh, I can't, the share's ridiculous, right? And that has become that's just not the concept. You're talking about the most watched shows on TV. Nothing touches live sports and nothing touches the Super Bowl, right? And even then, I don't think that's a fraction of the share that the finale of MASH, a show about doctors during the Korean War, ever pulled, because so many fewer options. It was the only time to watch it. Appointment television was truly that, because if you didn't see it, God knows when you were going to see the finale of MASH again. And I think you kind of look at that as that shift as you were talking about it and the monoculture, and like 1989 is such an interesting year for
Yeah,
this movie to come out because here it is. I think you're getting ready to step into the precipice of that shift as we move into
right.
90s culture. Um, and so, one, I have to make a joke, which is the massive upset. I would have lost the bet on that the Georgia Tech grad was not the one excited to go to the Weird Al Yankovic concert. But I get it. And,
Yeah. Well,
podcasting, visual
I
medium,
met.
I love your shirt, by the way.
Oh,
He's
thanks.
wearing a
No,
great Weird Al shirt.
I married the one woman at Georgia Tech, so I mean, I lucked out. So,
I married the other one woman at Georgia Tech.
oh,
We keep
congratulations.
yes, thank you. We decided it would be easier to not be a house divided. So and she's smarter than me because she has 2 degrees from Tech, and she likes to
Yeah.
remind me of that every now and again. But no, so it's I rewatched the movie, kind of getting
Uh,
into the name of the pod. I think it's kind of perfect, like you said. It ages well because and it's interesting because if you compare it to the genre, because it is kind of a
yeah.
bookend. I think there might be a couple early 90 Naked Gun movies, like 33 and a third or something may come but satire
Sure.
films are dying,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
this is the last of it. But what's interesting is if you compare it to, say, Airplane, a movie I would love to do on the pod at some point.
Mhm.
Dear God, compare it to Kentucky Fried Movie. Like it it ages better because the one thing I'll say is there's actually not really a moment in this movie. There's a couple jokes where you go, but nothing's real mean spirited. It's not a mean
No.
spirited satirical film, and lots of other ones can still touch on that at
Well,
times.
and I think another thing that the movie does really well, and I watched it this weekend with my two boys. They're 9 years old and 6 years old, and
Oh,
it's a PG
perfect.
13 movie. But I'm a great dad. So
That's fun.
and I mean the two things that got it the PG 13 rating were Emo Phillips cutting off his thumb
Yep.
and squirting blood everywhere,
Yep.
and Conan the Librarian. Those were the two things that got it the PG 13
Since
rating.
I just watched Gandhi 2 did stick his fist through a guy. There,
Yeah, I guess so.
there
Yeah,
was, which
I'm willing to look past it, but
I
but but the thing is, like, it's cartoonish enough violence that like I didn't feel weird showing my
no.
kids. And the Weird Al concert too. The way that show works is he does costume changes and stuff. I mean, he
Yeah.
really puts on a show, and he'll play. I mean, like mock celebrity interviews or scenes from the Weird Al show or scenes from UHF or something in between while he does the costume change, and then he comes out and does the next song. And so they had Conan the Librarian as one of the things in between songs. And my kids thought that was hilarious. And it's like, okay, like we're in good hands. Like this is fine. Um, but even though that's parody, like Conan the Librarian, my kids have no idea what Conan the Barbarian is.
Yeah.
Like they don't know. I had to pause the movie to give like the Wikipedia like
Cliff
introduction
Notes.
history
Yeah.
the cliff notes of who Gandhi is.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I mean, they don't know. Or like when he says, "Give me a steak medium rare," why that's a joke? Like they don't know. But but it's paced in a way that if you don't really get something, it moves on to the next thing. It's
Yeah.
just rapid fire, and a lot of it isn't really parody. It's just okay, we're getting a quip off, and then we're moving to a parody thing, and then there's some other jokes, and then the parody thing.
Yeah, I did read. I was reading, kind of reminding myself who the cast members were,
Mhm.
and like who played R.J. Fletcher. And I always that actor always sticks with me because another movie I will eventually do on the pod is Inner Space, and
Okay.
because it was one I loved as a kid for whatever reason. It just was one of those HBO always on the summer type movies. So the guy
Mhm.
who plays Fletcher's the bad guy in that movie too.
Sure.
So he sticks out to me. And he's one of those he was one of those 80s born to play a bad guy
Yeah.
type actors, that he's so over the top in this, and he's having fun. It's interesting because it's one of the things I'll say with some of my friends sometimes is I was like, this is a movie that I will say I don't think I can go so far to go it's a good movie like in a
Yeah.
technical sense, but it's entertaining the whole
It's
way
a
out, and it's joyful, and it's fun, and it's a cotton candy. There's nothing wrong with a
yeah.
cotton candy
I
movie.
well, and I mean, I'm a little bit younger than you. Not by much. Not by much. Don't worry. But I mean, I didn't see it in theaters like anyone else. No one saw it in theaters. It
Yeah.
bombed.
Yeah.
And I mean, I pulled up before this, just like the summer of '89 was absolutely absurd. The top five, they didn't open this weekend, but the top five were Lethal Weapon 2, Batman,
Oh
When
God.
Harry Met Sally, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and License to Kill. Outside the top five, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Ghostbusters 2, Weekend at Bernie's. Like, it's just absurd. They had no chance.
Eh,
And, and so I didn't see it in theaters. I probably got it from Errol's Video Club, and that was which Blockbuster, of course, eventually bought out. But that was a litmus test of, will I vibe with these people?
mm.
And if you've seen this movie, it's like, oh yeah, I love that movie, and it's like, okay, we could probably get along pretty well as friends in elementary school or in middle
Yeah.
school. And like, hey, I got this. Like my first tape, my first cassette was Alapalooza, the one with Weird Al as a Tyrannosaurus, like the Jurassic
Yeah.
Park logo
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
And that was my first tape that I purchased with my own money. And it's like that that was just kind of a vibe for kids to,
That's like, and that's actually such a perfect way to look at both Weird Al Yankovic also and this movie, right? Because,
yeah,
we were both relatively close enough in age.
ballpark, yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah, like we were kids for the rise of Weird Al. So in a lot of ways, we were his sort of his target demographic. But
Mhm.
like you said, not 100%. Like I would laugh at the songs and the videos, but I didn't always know at that point in time like what song he was parodying.
Mhm.
Obviously, you knew "Eat It" and all of that type of stuff.
Sure.
All right, he's doing the big stuff, but there's other, he was doing other, other songs that were a little less well known, and to me, right, as a kid.
Sure.
But the idea, that's such an interesting point. The idea of this, because I used it this way too. UHF, this movie, it'd be fun to take half a second. What were the things that I could talk about, like to look at it and go, I'm among like safe people, if
Right.
you will. I'm in my tribe. It's people like this.
Right.
Hudson
Yeah.
Hawk's a movie that's a little bit like that too, because it's
Yeah.
also a movie that bombed, and you go, yeah, but it's a lot of fucking fun actually if
Yeah.
you decide to have fun with it, and that's what this movie was like. Like it's if you're gonna sit down and Roger Ebert hated it, and I get it because if you like
Yeah.
watch it as a film, you're like, okay, there's other things. Like you said, Weekend at Bernie's came out. That's an amazing classic comedy, and it's such a unique concept, and you're
Sure.
competing with that. But it's like, but this is just fun, and there's nothing wrong with the movie being fun and getting 2 stars from Roger Ebert.
Well, and also it's fun watching it, and again, just stuff from this era that really aged poorly in terms of like, oh man, some of the language and stuff that they're calling people, it's like, oh man, I
Yeah,
really feel bad that I probably laughed at that when it first came out. And that's not in this movie at all. Like it's I feel really comfortable showing it to my kids. I don't have to be like, whoa, hey, geez, I can't believe they said that.
the meanest joke, and it's not mean because
Uh-huh.
it still made me laugh tonight because I just watched it 20 minutes ago, is the supplies joke. When
Yeah.
and that's not mean because it's one of the ones like it's as mean as it gets, and that's not a terribly, you compare it to some
It,
other, like if
if
I
anything,
watch Gung Ho or something again, you go, oh, there's a very racist movie.
it's a wink. It's a play on the trope because I mean
Yeah,
it's a supply closet that says supplies when
it
they
says
open it. I mean
supplies. Yeah.
it's I mean the one joke that I will laugh at just as hard the first time I saw is now is right before Fran Drescher is going out in front of City Hall to talk to the mayor, and there's the guy who's made out to be a homeless person, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean just the mismatched jacket instead of
yeah.
asking
Yeah.
for change, sitting with a guy on the bench who's blind, and he's playing with a Rubik's cube,
Oh,
and he
now.
says, "Is this it? Nope. Is this it? Nope." And it's just panning across the screen, and that's just a throwaway joke. It's like that is brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, you could tell that he had really loved like Zucker brother type movies, that he loved
Uh,
slapstick. I'm sure Weird Al grew up on the Marx Brothers, where there's just really ridiculous stuff. Three Stooges too, and there's just a degree of that. But even then, he's such a nice person as a
right.
human being that like he just takes the edge off in this, and it is interesting because like, I guess we could look up if you sit here and go, what's going on in like 1989, right? And why
Hmm.
did this movie hit? And I'm trying to think. So we're in the Herbert Walker Bush era. I don't think Desert Storm started yet.
No, it hadn't
Yeah,
yet.
it
No.
hadn't yet. I think we're in this weird American malaise, right? The late 80s
Yeah.
shifting into 90s. Grunge had it's really such an interesting timeline. Grunge hasn't hit yet. We're sort of
Hmm.
moving out of 80s synth poppy type stuff. Weird Al is a
Are
huge star.
are the Russians the big bad guys anymore? What's going
Yeah,
on?
yeah,
Like,
you don't. Yeah, Gorbachev's there. That stuff's starting to
yeah.
change. I think the wall's fallen at
Famously
this
mud
point.
wrestling in this movie. So,
Yes, yes.
yes.
The other
Which
slightly
I had to
dirtiest
tell my
part
kids.
because there's a little bit of butt right there, and that's
Yeah.
like the other tiniest bit of PG-13 to this movie,
Well, and I
probably.
had to tell my kids like that was the president of Russia. We're just moving on. We don't need to talk
Yeah,
too much about that. I'm not going to get into Cold War politics with a 6-year-old.
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
worth it.
yeah. You have this. What year? I might look it up while we're doing this because I'm kind of
Oh, sure.
curious what year Hot Shots came out because I think that
Oh,
might
sure.
have been the last Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2
Well,
might.
and Spy Hard, which Weird Al did the theme song for,
Yep.
which I think was a nice homage to
So yeah,
the genre.
Hot Shots was 91. Hot Shots Part 2 was 93, and I'm like, you kind of see
Okay.
you're moving into it, and then Spy Hard is 96, and like
Okay.
you're
And I
like
would say that's probably the, and then you get into like Scary Movie and stuff, but that's very different. Like
it's a
the tone
different
of it's
genre.
very different.
It's a different thing, not another teen movie. All that's a
Right.
different version of parody
Mhm.
than this. Once again, it gets a little meaner. That's the other thing. The Naked Gun movies are
Yeah.
also in my mind not terribly like they're not mean spirited in
Mhm.
the way that they happen. So there's just this piece, but it's this interesting thing. In the bits of what doesn't hold up, and I'll agree with Roger Ebert on this. Like when Weird Al's leaning really hard into being Weird Al, it's working well,
Yeah.
right? When he's
Mhm.
smashing his head on the table, or when he'll suddenly, I just want you to take this crowbar, and I just want you to bash my brains in,
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
perfect, but in between, like, not the best actor. He's
That's
okay.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
When he's doing parodies, he's great, right? When
Mhm.
he's doing the Rambo thing, it's wonderful. Um, but so you have those little bits. I guess actually the age out, but you only have to know what's going on, and there's no problem with him in this movie. Is like going, oh right, Michael Richards.
Yeah. Which
That's
yeah, it's or Victoria Jackson.
maybe
Uh,
worse, probably worse, because Michael Richards,
Probably
you could at
worse.
least sit here and go, look, there's there's a lot of comedians that we all probably still know and love who are really happy there was not a camera recording them a night where they lost it on a heckler. I mean,
And I mean, and he paid the price many times over
yeah,
for that night. But and it's interesting watching these people before the roles that made them really famous, like Fran
yeah,
Drescher, like
yeah.
being the secretary, and but yeah, like with Michael Richards, you can see the physical comedy coming through, but the voice of Stanley, it's like it's not fully. You can almost see Kramer popping out every once in a while,
And I had
and
seen Michael Richards in Transylvania 65000 before
okay.
this. Have you ever seen that
I have
movie?
not seen that. No,
Yeah,
no.
it's not great, but he's great in it. It's a similar type of thing. It's
Okay,
sort of a spoofy.
sure.
Came out a few years. It's actually worth checking out. It's not
Okay,
one where I'll ever make this pod. Like but it was very. It was just a quick digression on it. He's that movie is a send up of Universal Horror Pictures
okay,
from the 50s, and they go to and everybody's in it. Like somebody's Dracula, somebody is Frankenstein's monster,
sure,
and I'm trying to. Michael Richards plays a very. The only thing you'll say is he's also Stanley Spadowski in that movie.
sure.
So
Okay.
it's exact same character, which is what made Kramer so different because Kramer's there, but you can tell he's refined and tightened
Mhm.
the character. Yeah, and then like you said, Fran Drescher, who the voice is turned down just a hair, which I enjoyed
Right. Yeah, yeah.
a touch more. I'm trying to think who else out of this. Well, Guinea Watanabe was already kind of famous because he was in all of the John Hughes movies because he
Well,
voiced
and
Thanos.
I mean, there were a couple actors that had small parts that were just like, "Hey, Weird Al is making a movie. I'm going to bring my friends in." Like Emo Phillips
Yes.
and Dr. Demento makes a couple of cameos in it, but not like no speaking parts or anything. But it's like,
Yeah.
hey, just give these people their flowers to like
Yeah.
this is our crew, and we're like, hey, one of us got a movie out of this. Let's all get a piece of it.
Yeah.
Um, but no, it's funny with Stanley. That just reminds me. There's it's a 97-minute movie, but the blocking of it is really great, and there you can tell that they put a lot of care into a lot of their jokes, and maybe they could have made it longer and stuff got edited down. One example of that is when Weird Al is making the Devil's Tower of the mashed potatoes, the callback to Close Encounters.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I did tell my and like I'm watching this with my kids. I'm telling them like, hey, that's from a movie. Don't
Yeah.
worry about it. It's a famous movie. That's why people are laughing. But then a couple scenes later, it's Stanley getting fired, and they're taking his janitor uniform away, and he's wearing a shirt that says Enchanted Mesa on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this is important. This means something.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this is your sign that you're about to do something really important.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know if that was just a throw, but I mean there was care put in there for something that I'm sure they didn't think people were going to do.
Well,
Like
well,
it's just
and that's the like I'll always enjoy a movie when you can tell people had a good time making it. And
sure,
like to bookend it with the last episode about Dawn of the Dead, it was like, hey,
yeah,
that's a horror movie, but it was like, you know what? You can tell people really put themselves into this and
sure,
enjoyed making it. Completely different type of movie, but the same thing. And I that always kind of comes through for me. It's and the jokes are solid. I laughed
yeah,
a lot. I had forgotten some,
oh sure,
I'd forgotten the spoofy commercials,
hmm
some of that stuff. Him doing the Geraldo, rip off talk
oh
show.
yeah, yeah.
Um, God, that was so. What Town
But
Talk? Was it Talk Town or Town Talk?
there's Town Talk, yeah,
Town Talk.
and uh, and I mean, and just there were smart jokes, and then there are jokes like the joke that made my kids almost stop breathing. They were laughing so hard was Bobo the clown eating Yappy's dog treats instead of cookies, and just seeing the his face get just this is so gross. I'm playing along with the bit because I'm on camera and I'm a professional,
I'm half
and
concussed because I got hit in the
half
face.
concussed. He actually got his lips split during that. He
Did
actually
he?
got hit with the frying pan. And they said, nope, that take's going to be the good take. We don't have to do that again. But because he's wearing clown makeup, you can't see it. It's actually
Uh,
his mouth is actually red. But my kids are they're crying laughing, and it's like that's good. Like we're laughing at the same stuff.
yeah, yeah.
And
Well, and it's like that is relatively innocent. Like,
right, it's slapstick, but
yeah,
yeah,
it's slapstick. It's I don't know. I enjoyed the film. It is the type of thing, and I haven't seen the new, and not to like because I haven't seen it. We can't talk about that much. I have not watched the new Naked Gun movie, so I don't
but
know
actually
how.
neither have I. So we
Yeah,
can.
I'm
Um,
curious to see how it holds up because I do think, in light of everything going
yeah,
on in our lives, it's nice to have some joyful things to
sure.
to get into again. Some simple things, some things where it's okay to be distracted
Mhm.
on everything that's happening. And like in a weird way, that movie was because nothing was going on, and now today we sort of need it again because everything's going on all the time, and,
Yeah,
and it would be nice to have it back.
yeah. And I mean, if you haven't seen the movie Weird, the Al Yankovic story, uh,
No.
oh, I very much recommend it. It's on
Yes.
Roku channel.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, but shocking, this will shock you. I have it on physical media as well.
Congratulations. Yeah. Well
Because
done.
yeah, but it's
That's the Daniel
it's
Radcliffe one, right? Where,
right.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And the parody is of Weird Al in that movie,
yeah,
which is one is like his parents are abusive, not supportive and stuff. It's like he had very loving parents that they died in the tragic accident
yeah,
in real
yeah.
life. And it's awful, but up until that point, like his dad was an accordion player, like
Yes.
a well-known accordion player. And his dad just but in the movie, his dad worked at a factory that manufactured OSHA violations. Like so very, very much recommend it just because everything is a parody of Weird Al himself.
Yes, I
And making himself the subject of the parody was a brilliant move.
yeah, he wrote a parody song. He wrote a parody song about his life, is how I heard it described to me.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like because he would have to. Um, yeah, it's I am really glad again that like I had an excuse to watch something. It's been funny because like so first episode I did Bloodsport, a movie I've seen 9 million times
Yes.
and enjoy immensely. But I will like I had to do in that one. I was like, oh, But I've also watched all the John Wick movies and I watched a lot of other stuff. And it's like, hey, I have to
Mhm.
look at this as like a cultural touchstone that kicked off a lot of things. But
Mhm.
did it hold up? Like, there's some things that aren't so
Right.
great with it, and its core thing got improved upon. But I was, so do Dawn of the Dead. I'm like, nope, this movie still fucking slaps. I was texting Jamie
Mhm.
in the middle of it. I was like, this movie slaps. This movie's amazing. Thank you for making
Mhm.
me watch this for the first time in 20 years. And this was just fun. So like, I enjoyed I'm like, no, is it okay? Like you said, some of the jokes are very product of the time, but like that whole opening of doing Raiders
Yeah.
and it's so well done, and the whip and the guy's arm falls off, and it's like we are going to tell you what this movie is going to be in the first 30 seconds, and then it just kind of runs from there with him, the Oscar being the idol, and then of
Right.
course the Rock keeps chasing him. I was just like, this is great.
Mhm.
I'm already having fun, and I had fun the
Yeah.
entire time. It was. Did it meaningfully change society? No, but not everything does. That's okay.
Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah. So, like, trying to think, we said if this peters out, we can make that as long as the episode needs to be. I'm curious
Sure.
if you have other, I mean, I'm happy to keep going. I can riff on anything, but any kind of closing thoughts, things you would think about. I will watch Weird. I need to make sure that happens. It's
Yes.
always
Yeah.
on my list. Yeah. What other thoughts about it? If anything, you want to kind of close with?
So if you get a chance to see Weird Al in concert, uh,
Yeah.
it's absolutely worth it. Uh, we had to leave a little bit early because, I mean, my kids aren't staying up till
Yeah.
11,
Yeah. And I've heard he
and
goes like a long live show.
yeah,
Like he puts
and
his whole foot
I
in
mean,
it.
you really get your money's worth. And my wife and I were debating like which song do we leave on because our kids want to hear a couple things. Because I was playing playlists like
Yeah.
bringing up the concert, and and we weren't really sure what he was going to end on. He plays the same list every night just because of the choreography and so
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to
Yeah.
create new costume changes every night. And so I could have looked it up, I didn't. And he played the Captain Underpants theme that he did as one of the songs. And my wife and I looked at each other. It's like, that's it.
Yep.
After this, we're out, and it's not a big deal, and the kids will love it. And we're walking back to the car, and it's totally blackout. Where it's parked out in a field, and my oldest son says, "Weird Al is my favorite rock star." And I'm like, that's just like I did something
Done.
okay.
I
Like
did.
if you that will have you coast for a good while in life until you discover your own music and stuff. But if you're okay with Weird Al, like I'm
Yeah.
cool with that.
If I'm going to take any kind of being reminded takeaway out of this, one, I think this coming weekend I'm going to try to. So my boys are really close to yours. So mine's about to be 9, and I have a 6 year
Okay.
old.
Okay.
So I'm like perfect week, and having rewatched them, like absolutely they can watch this movie with me. And I should introduce them to Weird Al's music and
Yeah.
see how they think about that. That my kids relatively like music. My younger one, I'm in a real interesting place because he likes to come in and tell the Echo to play metal, and he seems to
Oh.
really be into it. And I'm like, all right, well, you and Dad can have a different. We're gonna drive
Yeah.
your mother nuts, but we'll go over here and relive some of my darker years.
Yeah. Like I know what we're playing in the car when we're driving by ourselves and
Yeah,
driving you to practice or something.
I'm like, well, buddy,
Yeah.
we can try. Here's this little album called Vulgar Display of Power. Let's see. Let's see how Pantera works for you.
Yeah.
Which surprisingly has little. That's the other thing. This movie you were talking about, like, has few swear words. So it's like, hey,
Yeah.
kind of those things to introduce. And this is a good one. I should try this. Then I might try Goonies. We were talking about that because
Yeah.
I think it'd still be a little scary. I've had trouble getting them through. I I was surprised. Star Wars was a little slow for them, A New Hope.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I
I'm
hear you.
like, that was tough. And it's funny, it's like I get it. And you want them to love what you loved as a kid, but it's also like, yeah, but if I had K-pop Demon Hunters, I'd have probably
Yeah.
loved the shit out of that as a kid too. Like I didn't
Yeah.
have that movie. So it'll be interesting to see what holds up. But I think it's as dads. I think it's a
Yeah.
fantastic like reintro. It holds up in the safest, and I loved the notion. Like it's a thing I might have to put some thought into for other episodes of the pod, which is the idea of that like the cultural touchstones where you go, are you my people? Right? Here is a
Yeah.
movie that because the guy who's like my best friend in the whole world, we've been best friends since we were 14. He's the godfather of both
Mm.
my kids, everything. Like that's we had some stuff like we both realized like we liked UHF. And everybody else around us was too cool for Weird Al songs,
Mm.
and like we had Weird Al songs, and like yeah, I wrestle and I'm on the football team and I'm doing all that stuff and we're in a small private school, but like this was a thing because this was a little
Mm.
counterculture, right? It
Yeah.
was in its own way counterculture, um, but in a really nice way because you don't have to be an asshole only to be counterculture.
Right.
That's the genius of Weird Al.
And you're not doing it just to be contrarian. It's like I'm doing it because I'm having fun.
Yeah, I mean I watched his behind the music way back in the day when they did it. And,
Uh,
it really bothered him that Coolio was not happy he did that song because he thought he had his
yeah.
permission. That's the type of guy he is, right? And
Right.
so every parody he ever did was A Place of Love, and he just, had something stuck in his head that he wanted to do. So I think the hold up here is that, Weird Al Yankovic should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because he's just an amazing human being,
Yeah.
and like, and that it's okay to have some joy in things, and I think that's
It's
that's ultimately what this movie's about.
it's kind of like the rule of assistant coaches not being able to get into the College Football Hall of Fame, and so Bud Foster can't make it in, which travesty. But yeah, I mean, and his original songs are hilarious too. Like which I love. But
The man makes me
uh,
like polka.
yeah,
I wouldn't listen to polka, but his are fun, and
oh yeah,
it make great interstitials. So yeah, and then yeah, and you had talked about it. We may end up still doing this movie. I've got it earmarked for you and I because "Dare to Be Stupid" is amazing. I mean, that's
yeah,
just a straight up outstanding song.
absolutely,
Uh,
yeah,
and like you said, his original music's great. And I always loved that, the guy from Devo was so mad that Weird Al wrote the perfect Devo song.
yeah.
And that's like just such a great way. So this was, you know, it's a fun movie, and it's okay for fun movies to still exist, and it holds up as a fun movie. Yeah, there's a couple references you got to explain to your kids, but even then they'll get older. Someday I'll show them Conan the Barbarian. They'll probably see
Sure,
it. And,
yeah,
they'll definitely see Raiders at some
yeah.
point. Can't watch it now. And then they'll get more of the jokes, but other stuff in it's just great too. The only thing I have is my eldest will ask to drink from the fire hose. That's his. He's that type.
Yep.
And my youngest is going to
That
go
looks
find the
great. Yeah.
marble and the oatmeal. Like I'm going to come home.
Or Dad, can you make me a Twinkie Wiener sandwich? Which I've
And
had
dip it in the milk.
before. I've had yeah. Why is he dipping it in coffee? It's like actually that's milk and that's worse somehow. But I've had it before. It's not good.
No.
I wouldn't crave one, but it's not
Yeah.
like I this needs to come out of my mouth. But
Yeah.
um
Yeah. Lest you forget, I tried the Pop Tart Sloppy Joe for an
oh that's right,
experiment
yeah.
for Blue Sky. So I would try the Twinkie
Yeah.
Wiener sandwich. Actually, I was doing okay with it until the string cheese, the
Spray
cheese
cheese
with,
on it.
yeah, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And then he dipped it in the milk, and I think he took a real bite of that because
Yeah.
Weird
Oh
Al's
yeah.
a method actor.
There's
That's what
commitment to
everybody
that.
says about him. Um, so yeah, well, Ethan, this was fun. It was fun to
Yeah, I
talk
had a
about
great
a
time.
fun movie. I do think we talked about it, like, and I've prompted it before. It'd be fun to go back to some '80s cartoons and just admit they're terrible,
Yeah,
but we could break some of it down a little bit, or find one that was good. I'm curious if I can dig back into some '80s cartoons, if any of them were good. I don't think the extended
yeah,
toy ads were, but you know,
yeah. I'd have to think about it,
yeah, it'd be,
but yeah,
yeah. I don't know. He-Man might hold up a little bit better, but or I'm just
yeah.
gonna ruin my childhood. I have not rewatched any of those. But yeah, this was a blast. Thanks for doing it. We'll come up with something else to do it again. And
Absolutely, anytime.
yeah, I really appreciate it. And it was also good for people behind the scenes. Ethan and I have interacted a ton online, but it's the first time we're seeing each other in person. So
Yeah,
it was also a pleasure, and it was a fun excuse to get to do that. So once again, this was the What's the Hold Up pod, talking about UHF with Ethan Lavery, and we will catch y'all next episode.